You know what's funny? Everyone talks about the first $100,000 like it's this magical milestone, this number you hit, and suddenly everything changes. And they're not wrong, it does change things. But what nobody tells you, what nobody prepares you for, is how absolutely brutal the journey to that first 100,000 actually is. Not just financially brutal, though it is that, but psychologically brutal, emotionally brutal, socially brutal. You're going to sacrifice things, you're going to feel left behind, you're going to question whether it's worth it about 1,000 times. And nobody mentions any of this when they're posting their success stories about hitting 6 figures in savings. My name is Chris, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and why some people seem to effortlessly build wealth while others stay stuck in the same financial patterns for decades. And what I've realized is that saving your first 100,000 isn't just about the money. It's about everything you have to become in order to save that money. And by the end of this, you're going to see exactly what nobody tells you about this journey and why pushing through it anyway is the most important thing you'll ever do for your financial future. First thing nobody tells you, you're going to feel poor while you're doing this, even if you're making decent money, because saving aggressively for your first 100,000 means living significantly below your means. It means saying no constantly. No to eating out when your friends are going. No to the vacation everyone's taking. No to upgrading your phone or your car or your apartment, even though you technically could afford it. And while you're doing this, you're going to watch people around you, people making the same money as you or even less, living what looks like better lives. They're going out, they're buying things, they're enjoying themselves. And you're sitting there with your packed lunch and your old phone, watching your savings account tick up slowly, feeling like you're missing out on your own life. Nobody tells you that doing the right thing financially is going to make you feel like you're doing the wrong thing socially. But that's exactly what happens. And you have to be okay with feeling poor while you're actually building wealth, because those are the same thing at this stage. Second thing, nobody mentions it's going to take way longer than you think. You see people online talk about saving their first 100,000 in 3 years or 5 years, and you think, okay, I can do that. But what they don't show you is the grinding reality of it. If you're saving $1,000 a month, which is actually really good and more than most people can manage, that's still over 8 years to hit 100,000 if your money isn't growing much, even if you're investing it. And getting decent returns, you're looking at 6 or 7 years minimum. That's not a sprint. That's not even a marathon. That's a significant chunk of your life where you're being disciplined and careful and intentional with money. And the goal still feels impossibly far away. And during those years, life is going to happen. You're going to have setbacks, unexpected expenses, months where you can't save as much. And each one of those feels like you're starting over. Nobody tells you that the first 100,000 isn't a 3-year project. It's the hardest sustained efforts you'll make in your 20s and 30s, and it requires patience you didn't know you'd need. Third thing that's almost never discussed, your relationships are going to be tested. When you're serious about saving $100,000, you can't keep up with people who aren't. You can't go on expensive trips. You can't hit up bars and restaurants multiple times a week. You can't do spontaneous spending. And some of your friends aren't going to understand. They're going to think you're being cheap or boring or too serious about money. They're going to stop inviting you to things because they assume you'll say no anyway. And romantic relationships, even harder. Yeah, if you're dating someone who isn't on the same page financially, the constant friction about money is going to kill the relationship. You'll suggest free or cheap dates, and they'll feel like you don't value them. You'll say no to expensive plans, and they'll take it personally. Nobody tells you that saving your first 100,000 is a filtering mechanism for your entire social circle. The people who stay are the ones who either understand what you're doing or respect it, even if they don't get it. Everyone else drifts away, and that's lonely sometimes. Fourth reality nobody prepares you for. You're going to have moments where you feel like you're wasting your life. You're in your 20s or 30s, which are supposed to be the fun years, the years where you're young and free and experiencing life, but instead you're tracking every expense, calculating opportunity costs, staying home while everyone else is out living. And there will be moments, lots of them, where you wonder if you're doing this wrong, if maybe you should just loosen up and enjoy life now instead of sacrificing everything for some future version of yourself. Nobody tells you that the voices in your head telling you to give up are going to be loud and persistent and sometimes very convincing, and you're going to have to fight them constantly, knowing that most people who listen to those voices end up broke in their 40s and 50s wishing they'd stayed disciplined. Fifth thing that's rarely mentioned, the progress is invisible for so long that you'll question if it's even working. When you've been saving for 2 years and you've got $30,000, that feels like nothing. It doesn't feel like you're a third of the way to 100,000. It feels like you're barely started. The number grows so slowly relative to the effort you're putting in that it feels disproportionate. You're sacrificing so much, being so disciplined, and the reward is this number that doesn't even feel significant enough to do anything with. Nobody tells you that you have to operate on faith for years, faith that compound interest will eventually kick in, faith that the habits you're building matter, faith that this slow, grinding progress is actually taking you somewhere, because you won't have proof for a very long time. But here's what also nobody tells you. And this is the part that makes everything else worth it. The person you become while saving your first 100,000 is worth more than the 100,000 itself. You build discipline that most people never develop. You learn to delay gratification in a culture that's built around instant satisfaction. You prove to yourself that you can set an enormous goal and actually achieve it. You develop immunity to social pressure and lifestyle inflation. You build financial systems and habits that will serve you for the rest of your life. By the time you hit that 100,000, you're not the same person who started. You're someone who can do hard things. Someone who doesn't need external validation. Someone who understands that real wealth is built slowly and quietly over time. And that person can build the next 100,000 way faster, can weather financial storms, can make smart decisions under pressure. The money is important, but the transformation is everything. Look, here's what you need to understand if you're on this journey or thinking about starting it. Saving your first 100,000 is going to be harder than anyone admits. Like, it's going to take longer than you want. It's going to cost you relationships and experiences and moments of fun. You're going to feel poor and left behind and question everything. But everyone who's built real wealth has gone through this exact same process. There's no shortcut. There's no easy version. The first 100,000 is the filter that separates people who want to be wealthy from people who are willing to become wealthy. And if you can push through all the things nobody tells you about, the sacrifice, the loneliness, the doubt, the slow progress, you'll come out the other side as someone who's capable of building the life most people only dream about. So keep going. Even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because what's on the other side of that, the first 100,000 isn't just money, it's freedom. It gives, if you're grinding through this journey right now and this gave you the strength to keep going, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to understand exactly what lifestyle traps are making this journey harder than it needs to be, check out How to Avoid the Middle Class Money Trap. I'll see you in the next one.